Ginger Star. Welcome to another episode of Positive Power. Let's talk about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Artlist, guys. You can use them for cool sound effects, grab some really awesome music to play for commercial use, and now they even have video features. So you can download it and actually use their video features on your videos. Artlist is getting amazing, guys. So if you want to check it out, click the link below, grab a subscription with them, and you can get 2 months free using my link. So it's a win-win for everybody. Also, if you like what we're doing here at Positive Power, and if you want to sponsor us, or if you decide that you want to do an interview yourself, or maybe even place an ad on our videos, don't hesitate to reach out, guys. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and this new thing that's popping up, it's called Rumble. So if you don't know what Rumble is, go check it out. Links are below. We're looking for other platforms coming soon, so stay tuned. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the magic bell, and you guys don't want to miss out on any videos, so don't hesitate to follow us. And of course, comment. I love reading them, guys. I love reading your comments. On today's episode, I am interviewing someone who is not only one of the most influential voices on 90s television, but she is also one of my favorite voices on TV growing up. In the name of the moon, let's get positive!
Moon Healing Activation!
I'm just here to entertain them.
Let's get positive!
Fireproof power! Fireproof power! With that power! Lightning fixture power! Wireless power!
Hey, Positive Power fans, as promised, I'm going to introduce our special guest. So this person has voiced many characters in many cartoons, as she has done Snowdrop from The Special Magic of the Elf, Blaze Summer of Beverly Hills Teens, Polaris and X-Men, so she knows a little bit about Marvel, guys, Princess Sissy, and many, many more. My personal favorite characters were Baby Hugs from Care Bears, and of course, her most iconic role to date, the voice of the champion of love and justice herself, Sailor Moon. She also worked in radio, screenwriting, and as a director. Please welcome to the show the one and only, the incredibly talented Terri Hawkes.
You're wearing a strawberry shortcake shirt.
Are you?
I think strawberry shortcake was my first job. My first.
Wait, you were on Strawberry Shortcake too?
Yeah. I'm embarrassed to tell you I don't remember the name of the character, but it's out there somewhere.
To my audience that's following us, comment below if you know what character that she voiced in Strawberry Shortcake. Probably find it on social media. So guys, today's word of the day is acceptance. Your challenge, Terri, should you choose to accept it, is to say acceptance as many times as you can throughout the interview. Do you accept the challenge?
Could I say accept or acceptance, those different forms of the word? Or it has to be, I'll go with acceptance. I suspect that there's some really hardline rules around this game, so I will stick with acceptance.
Okay. And for those of you guys who are following, don't forget to comment how many times she says it. And you guys know how we like to give prizes away here at Positive Power. I actually have an awesome Sailor Moon poster that we're giving away. So one of you have an opportunity to win. All you have to do is be subscribed, and all you have to do is comment. And Terri, I just want to take a moment and just say thank you for helping out our audience who is following us today.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Has anybody ever sent you any posters or like anything from the show of Sailor Moon?
No, but when I do go to anime conventions, which is not frequently, but I do really enjoy them. And whenever I'm there, I try to make time to go down Artists Alley or where the vendors are. And I love seeing all the different interpretations of Sailor Moon and the other shows, but I really gravitate towards the Sailor Moon merchandise. And I really love the original artwork. So I have acquired over the years a few keychains, some posters, some keepsakes from all those wonderful artists out there, probably some of whom listen to your podcast. It's such a gift to see where that takes other people on their creative journey.
Do you have like a particular favorite piece of artwork that you've maybe picked up that you could let the fans know?
No, that's almost like choosing one of my children, which I could never do. But and there's also much that I haven't seen. Like there are a lot of artists out there, and many who have chosen to use some of the characters and the themes from Sailor Moon as subjects of their art, and more to come, I'm sure. In fact, at the most recent convention I was at, which was in Houston called Collecticon, I was really surprised at how many multi-generational visitors we had. So a lot of parents who are, I'm guessing, in their 30s or 40s maybe, were bringing their kids along. I have found that a lot of people really enjoy sharing the series and this version of the series with their kids. And some of them are artists already. There was a class of art students who came to visit me in Houston, and they brought their artwork. So that was really incredible. So as I say, more artists and more artwork to come.
Guys, keep up the artwork because we love Sailor Moon. I was a huge fan of Sailor Moon growing up. Did you know that Sailor Moon was going to be as big as it was in America and Canada at the time, or was this kind of like something new that you were trying out?
We had no idea. Would you like to hear the story as to how I became involved, perhaps?
Yes, absolutely.
So I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, and I was involved in community theater, non-professional theater, and with a singing and dancing group called the Young Canadians of the Calgary Stampede. And all of this was kind of scholarship or a free opportunity to learn the crafts of singing, dancing, acting, which was great because my family could not have afforded to send me to those classes at any rate. So anyway, I did musical theater in community in Calgary. Cut to, let's say 15 or more years later, I'm in Toronto and I get a phone call from my agent. Now I'm here in Toronto working as an actor and a writer at that time and director. And I get a call from my agent saying, Terri, there's a voice audition for you. They want to have you come because they're replacing the role of this character called Sailor Moon. It was created by Tracy Moore, did the first 6 episodes, I believe. And he stepped away from the project. Tracy Moore and I did community theater together in Calgary, Alberta. So I know Tracy. She's a really talented actor. So I don't know all the reasons why she left. I think there were artistic differences with one or more of the producers. But Tracy was leaving, and they were looking for someone who had maybe a similar timbre to their voice. So my agent asked me to go in, and I said, "Okay, that's fine. When would they like to see me?" And she said, "This afternoon." And I said, "Oh no, that's not possible. I have 2 young friends, teenagers, visiting from Calgary, and I'm about to take them to the Hockey Hall of Fame." And she said, "No, they need to see you this afternoon." I said, "Really? Really?" So I dragged my young charges with me and went to the audition. I sat in the waiting room. I went in to audition. It was fast and furious. Obviously, they were working under some kind of a timeline. Did the audition, listened to Tracy's voice, tried to sort of capture some of Tracy's essence, but gave it my own spin and tried to, embody what I had just learned about this character, this really interesting character who, as you said, would fight for justice and love and all those positive things, and kind of checked it off. Did the audition, left, took my young charges to the Hockey Hall of Fame, got a phone call from my agent, "Terri, they want you to do the role." And I said, "That's great, wonderful. Okay, let me know when we're going to start." And my agent said, Tonight. they need you tonight. I said, no, I have these guests from Calgary. I'm showing them around. Anyway, let's cut to, yes, I went into the studio that night and recorded, I'm sure, at least one episode, maybe two, because they were really behind schedule at that point. And it was just a fast and furious recording schedule from that point on. It seemed like we were always in a rush. In answer to your first question, it was, it wasn't unlike many other voice auditions that I had had and many other voice jobs, in that you go through the process. There's a casting director who contacts your agent contacts you, you show up, you give an interpretation, they might give you direction, you go away, they might call you and say, please do this job, or they might never call you again. You just never know. So I had a good feeling about this show. There was something I really liked about it. I really liked the collegial core of the schoolgirls who would then become superheroines. And that really appealed to me. I've always been interested in female-centric stories and in stories that empower people to rise above challenges in their lives. So I really liked that. It really spoke to me. But then there's another part that might illustrate and answer to your question. When did we know that it was kind of something special?
I would kind of like to know when you felt like, oh, this is catching on.
So none of us knew. We just knew that we really enjoyed working together, and we had fun together, and we knew that it was a story that we were enjoying sharing and privileged to share. I can't tell you exactly when, but I can tell you the circumstances that led to me realizing, oh, there's something going on here. And that was Halloween. So my parents, who continued to live in Calgary even though I had moved away, my mother loved to dress up for Halloween. So she would put on odd costumes and greet the kids at the door. And her favorite was she would dress up like a much older woman and put cold cream on her face and curlers in her hair. And she'd wear this old flannel nightgown. And when the Halloween kids would ring the doorbell, she'd open the door and go, "What? You just woke me up." And they'd go, "Whoa!" And she'd go trick or treat. And then she'd give them candy. So I knew that my mom liked doing this. And it gave me joy to hear about her adventures with the kids in the neighborhood. So one Halloween, she phoned me and she said, "Honey, I have to tell you something." I said, "What, Mom?" She said, "Well, I was greeting the kids at the door in my usual outfit." She said, "But all of a sudden, all these little kids showed up dressed like Sailor Scouts." She said, "There were so many Sailor Moons at my door." And so I told them I was Sailor Moon's mom. And she said, and they didn't know what to think. They just thought it was the strangest thing. I said, "Yeah, I'm sure, Mom, that was probably a little hard for them to absorb." But that was the beginning of my understanding that this show was out there in the zeitgeist. There was just something that was catching on. And young people, I would say mostly girls, but not exclusively, were watching this show and getting something meaningful out of it. And that became clearer as, well, another example would be, I got a call from a cousin in Calgary, and she said, "Terri, a young friend of mine, Janelle, who was, I think, 6 years old at the time, and had a very debilitating illness, my cousin said, wants to talk to Sailor Moon. Will you call her?" And I said, "Of course I will. I'd be happy to." And I called Janelle and her mother, and we had the most wonderful conversation. First of all, I talked like Sailor Moon, and then I talked like Terri. And I'm just remembering this. It was really meaningful. Her mom told me that after we continued a phone relationship, let's say that. So I would talk to Janelle and her mom once in a while. And her mother, who had been a nurse, who is a nurse, told me that after these conversations, Janelle's blood count would go up in a very positive way. So hadn't actually thought of this for quite a while. And how, to my mind anyway, positivity sort of connects to other points of positivity, and it hopefully lifts everyone up. I think that's the goal from my point of view.
I think that that's a beautiful story, and I just want to take that moment and just say thank you for sharing that with me. Um, it's really nice to know that not only did you influence other people with the power of your voice, but for people who weren't even you know in good health, you gave them something positive to really um, improve them like as a person. And I kind of feel like in a way that's what Sailor Moon is and the other scouts are like all about.
That's really important to me, and that is that Janelle enhanced my life too, profoundly. So it's this loop, right? And I think what you just said about the Sailor Scouts is similar. I mean, Sailor Moon did not act alone. She was not a solo player in saving the world from the Negaverse. She was part of a team. And the Sailor Scouts were the team, and they were the glue, and they were imperfect, and they had their dysfunction, but ultimately they supported each other. And certainly I've found that in my life, my friends are that circle whom I look to and depend on for getting through rough times. And I've come to realize that I find support from other communities as well, and I hope that I contribute support as well.
Do you ever talk to any of the original cast? Do you guys ever get an opportunity to like just maybe sit down and like go out to eat, or just catch up from you guys were voicing the characters together?
Yeah, not as much as you might think, although I have been thinking recently it might just be time for a little personal social reunion. But I've seen Susan Roman occasionally, and I do keep in touch with Ron Rubin. And sometimes, occasionally, I might see Katie Griffin or Stephanie Morgenstern. I know Karen Bernstein is a well-respected agent now. And anyway, some of the original cast members, I sort of cross paths with, sometimes professionally, sometimes honestly at the local garden store. So, and I love that. I love running into people, and occasionally at anime conventions. They might invite, more than one of us to come to an anime convention, and that's always really fun. And there's so many wonderful actors who have had roles in the series, in the Dic series, maybe not, the Central Sailor Moon, but the Central Sailor Scout characters, but I'm thinking of Julie Lemieux and Ellen Dubin. It's just so many talented actors who you could find on a cast list of this show. That it has, as you say, it's iconic in many ways, but I would say one of the ways it's iconic is that it's been graced with the talents of so many amazing professional voice actors.
One of the things that Sailor Moon did was, the "in the name of the moon, I will punish you" speech. I was just wondering if maybe you had like a particular favorite speech from the show.
I'd say that I do, and it's been a while since we recorded these episodes, so I don't have them committed to memory. But I would love to hear from you and your followers as to what speeches might be some of your favorites.
Guys, comment below, like if you have a particular favorite episode or, a favorite Sailor Moon speech. "In the name of the moon, I will punish you." Would you be kind enough to throw that one in there?
I fight for love and justice and live to banish all that is evil. I am Sailor Moon. Moon, I will punish you.
Oh, do you feel like that's how you did it when you recorded it in the studio? Because you really had to feel like what the character was saying.
Well, okay, that leads us to the physicality of voice work. So yes, except I'm sitting down at my desk in my home office. In the studio, I always stood. I would always stand up because you can't really see. But anyway, it's easier to to breathe in your diaphragm, to get the vocal support, easier to do the physicality. I personally, as a voice actor, really like to emulate the physicality of the character that I'm portraying. So whether it was dubbing like Sailor Moon, where we actually see the images on the screen, as opposed to original animation where we record the voices first and then the animators draw the characters to our voices. With Sailor Moon, because we were dubbing from the Japanese version, I could see how Sailor Moon was moving, and just intuitively, as much as possible, I would try to copy what she was doing, because it affects your voice. If you notice yourself, your voice would change whether you're standing or sitting or running or leaping through the universe or when she's Serena and eating and getting crumbs all over her. Sometimes I would actually even eat crackers and things to try to simulate a very realistic sound of what eating and swallowing and making a mess might sound like. So yeah, it's a really physical thing. So it's very demanding. I think most voice actors will tell you that at the end of a long day of recording, not only is their voice a little maybe raspy if they've been really pushing it, but also physically it's demanding, which is one of the reasons I took a leave from the show when I was pregnant with my 2 kids, when I was pregnant with twins, because I was on bed rest and had a precarious pregnancy, and it was a tough decision, and it wasn't, because my kids, my pregnancy was paramount. Obviously, the most important thing to me, that I have a healthy pregnancy and healthy kids. But I imagine not everybody understood it, because they probably think that sitting in a chair like this, I could have maybe done the role. But I couldn't have continued the role in the way that was important to me, which was to do it full out 180% in a very physical way. I couldn't have done that and felt that I was also giving my pregnancy the attention and respect that it deserved. So yeah, for most people, it's a very physical job. And and I would say that of all the roles I've played, in terms of voice acting, Sailor Moon was the most physical. She had a lot to do. She had to, fight the Negaverse. That's a big job. The messages at the end of Sailor Moon, I have been told by many, were very comforting and empowering to people at certain times in their lives. I have been very honored to hear personal stories from many people over the years as to how this series and the stories have enhanced their lives. So I don't take credit for that. I'm part of the storytelling team, I guess, but the writers and the creator really are responsible for those messages. And the consequence of those messages is shown through the stories I've been told, which have included things like people coming out in terms of their sexual identity, people who have been struggling with mental health and have survived suicide attempts, and people who have been working on relationships with friends or partners or gender identity, all kinds of challenges in life. And I have been amazed and, as I said, very privileged to hear some of the stories that have been shared with me, in which I've been told that some of the messaging in Sailor Moon was of comfort and healing at certain times in people's lives. So thus I come back to moon healing activation. Hopefully that's one of the gifts that we as storytellers can share, is stories that uplift, that have positivity, but not just positivity. A sense of the low points in life as well, so that we can, from my perspective, acknowledge those moments, feel the pain, go through it. In order to heal, you got to feel is another phrase I like. It's not in Sailor Moon, but just in life. And to go through those moments and then find sustenance in community and friends, and in my case, the arts and nature. For some people, it's a spiritual path. Whatever it is for each of us, to be able to gather that positive energy to help us move forward through the tough times.
Would you be kind enough to do that in your Sailor Moon voice?
Oh my gosh, I'll give it a shot, but you probably have to refer to the earlier Dic series to get to get the full impact of it. But I'm gonna say like a softer, gentler version. Healing activation!
That was awesome. So aside from Sailor Moon, because we know that you voiced some other characters, including maybe even a couple of villains, if you personally had to choose, do you prefer actually voicing the hero, or do you like villains too?
Oh, it's kind of fun to have a variety, isn't it? And I think that villains, well, they have an important role to play, literally and metaphorically, in terms of story structure. Every protagonist needs an antagonist, the protagonist being the positive character we want to win, and the antagonist being the force that tries to stop them. So that makes drama and conflict. So there's that. But I think that antagonists can really illuminate a lot about our social issues and the themes that the storytellers, the writers are trying to share. For example, I am in an on-screen series right now called Lady Ada's Secret Society, which, for those of you who are interested, could find on Marble Kids YouTube. It's a web series, and it's a story about, interestingly enough, a group of schoolgirls. And in their school, they are dissuaded from studying science, math, technology, the STEM subjects. But they love it so much that they form this underground society, Lady Ada's Secret Society, and they use their science skills to play pranks on the rest of the student body. And they have a headmistress who thwarts them at every turn. And that would be me. So the function, I think, the character Mrs. Hine, my headmistress character, plays in this story by Shannon Fuster, a very talented creator writer. The function I think that the antagonist plays in this is she shows us the consequences of being closed-minded. She's very unaccepting of, well, social media, we were talking about that earlier, information technology, all kinds of scientific advancements. She wants her students to learn about comportment and the rules of society and how one dresses, how one appears in public. Very sort of old-fashioned rules that were generally taught to young women, and certainly in the last century and before. And that's where she comes from. So I think that's really interesting for young people, let's say tweens as sort of the target demographic for this series, to see, wow, these were the messages that, well, this teacher is teaching. They probably don't know that in the early 1900s, that's kind of what young girls and women were taught in home and school for the most part. So it's a way of introducing new generations to messages that girls and women have encountered for centuries, and a way of giving them role models who push back against those very restrictive roles and messages. So it's, it's very fun to play an antagonist, especially in a comedy like this one in Lady Ada's Secret Society. But the thing that really stokes me as an actor, a writer, and director is uncovering the social messages underneath those characters and those storylines.
I actually saw the trailer for that and I kind of recognized your voice. I was like, oh, Terri Hawkes did the trailer for that. So now that I know that you're in it, I actually want to watch it now. So I might look that up when we're done with this interview today for sure. Do you have any other future projects coming out that you might want people to know about?
There's another animated series on Netflix called Bee and Puppy Cat. And I'm not a frequent character in that series, but I was asked to do that series based on my work in Sailor Moon, and I have a really fun character named Toast, and she's another antagonist, but she's a boxer. And yeah, I won't tell you more. It's a really sweet series, and the artwork, the storylines, the characters, I think are really worth checking out. So that's called Bee and Puppy Cat. The rest of the time, I am mostly writing right now. I'm working on some scripts, rewriting some scripts. I have a couple of projects in development, and I've just focused on that for the moment. There's so many things I'd like to do: writing, directing, acting, producing. I'm just trying to focus on the writing right now with a little civic activism on the side.
Is there anything that we can look forward to that's coming out in your writing that's written by the incredible Terri Hawkes?
Thank you for your support. I will keep you in the loop. How's that? I'll let you know.
Sounds good. So guys, just be checking it out, and I'll keep my Positive Power fans in the loop too. When I hear from Terri, I'll let you guys know.
So honestly, positive power begins with awareness, then acceptance of acceptance. We haven't even talked about acceptance. Acceptance of what's out there that might be kind of pushing against the positivity. So yeah, I have some catching up to do, don't I? Okay, acceptance of, what have we talked about? Acceptance of the difficulty of careers in the arts. Acceptance of limitations when one is pregnant with twins and needs to be on bed rest. Acceptance of things changing. Things always change, and new casts, new interpretations of shows. Acceptance of the challenges of pursuing a career in the arts. Acceptance of maybe losing touch with colleagues who you think are extraordinarily talented. I didn't even mention Toby Proctor. Acceptance of not mentioning Toby Proctor. Acceptance of being imperfect, as Terri Hawkes is completely imperfect, as Sailor Moon and Serena are imperfect. Acceptance of our imperfection. Acceptance of the power of Ginger and her positive power community. I would say acceptance might be the word of the day, Ginger. Thank you for reminding me of that.
All right, guys, so that's all the time that we have for Positive Power. Terri, I just want to thank you again for joining us. Guys, don't forget how many times that she used the word acceptance. There's another time for you right there. Comment. Just remember, commenters, we are competing for some prizes, one of them being that Sailor Moon poster that we mentioned in the beginning. And as always, guys,
stay positive!